All right, so the first thing that you do is you take some Mod Podge and you're gonna line the inside of your wooden rectangle or whatever shape you have, and then let it sit for about 30 minutes. So you can see here, I just used a little foam applicator, went along all of the insides, and then I placed it at an angle so it could dry without getting stuck to any paper towels or anything. It's also important to note that I did seal my wood with tung oil I showed earlier in the video. It really helps you to peel your plastic off the back later and keep it from being stuck to the hot glue. So here's the plastic I use. It's just some acetate that I got at Joann's. And all you need to do is place your wooden frame down and hot glue around the edges. If you have my insert is it's actually a box lid. So I hold it down and make sure that it doesn't warp, and you can see here that mine is double layered, so I made sure that it got all along right up to the side on that shorter layer. So once I've got it all hot glued down to the acetate, I have a Cricut maker. So I actually will print little stickers out of vinyl and put them on the back of my sheet so that I can trace them later. But you could just print out a picture and tape it on the back. Then I'll mix up some clear resin and put a very, very thin layer on the bottom just so that it covers the entire bottom. This will be helpful because later we're actually going to be tracing the outline of our image with puffy paint, and that will give your puffy paint something to stick to. So when I'm adding my clear resin layer, I like to use a transfer pipette, but you don't have to. You could also just pour it and spread it around with a popsicle stick. I just think that I get better control and I'm able to have a more uniform thin layer when I do use a transfer pipette like that. I use a fast curing resin, so I let it sit for about 6 hours and it's pretty hard. And then I'll just take some puffy paint and I'll trace the outline of that image. You can wait after you put your puffy paint layer down to pour your next layer of colored resin, but I don't. I pour it right after. I haven't had any issues yet, but I also haven't made very many of these. And when you do choose an image to put onto the back of your plastic, you want to make sure you're choosing something that's not too detailed because the puffy paint does come out fairly thick. And one of the issues that I had with one of the first stained glass lids that I made was I chose a very intricate design and the lines ended up looking too thick and it just didn't look very good. So I like to choose a fairly simple design unless I can blow it up really, really large. So when I add my colors, I like to use alcohol inks. I did use a pearl alcohol ink in this one. It was the first time I used a pearl. It turned out pretty well. It just added a little bit of sparkle, which I like. If you're doing something like I'm doing and you're making a box lid, you also want to make your colors pretty light because without a light source behind the image, you won't be able to see through darker colors. But if you're making like a hanging wind chime or something just like put against the window of your house, you can go with some darker colors. So once again, I just use a transfer pipette here to add my colors. You want to just pay attention, make sure you're getting in all the little cracks. It doesn't matter if you go over the top of the puffy paint a little bit to get in small corners and things. As long as you're not adding like a huge blob, it's going to leak everywhere and go over the top and ruin your color scheme. And then next day, all I had to do was pop it out of my airtight container, peel the acetate off, and you have your finished stained glass item, whatever you're making. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you have fun making your fake stained glass using resin.